My neighbor Gary has lived across the street from our house ever since we moved in. He's a nice guy, like perennially nice. Never has a bad word to say about anyone. Always sees the best in people. He never fails to see things in a positive light and has been a welcome fixture at every barbecue or block party we've ever thrown.
Look at that stomach.
But this latest crisis has been pretty hard on Gary and his family. And over the past few weeks, I've noticed some pretty disturbing changes in his behavior. Changes that have meant that Gary went from being the Ned Flanders personality clone we love so much to being someone that I'm quite frankly terrified of.
Wow, okay.
I remember when we first heard rumors of a lockdown coming, Gary came over to talk about it. He was his usual jolly self, laughing off the scaremongering coming from the media. But as we talked about a shortage on food and hand sanitizer becoming a reality, he grew unsettled in a way I'd never really seen before. Gary has 2 young kids, but he also has his elderly mother living with him. He once told me he just didn't have the heart to put her in a home, how that seemed way too much like abandonment. Gary was just that kind of guy. At least he was that kind of guy. I only really started noticing the change when he came home one day with a trunk loaded with groceries. Not just the trunk either. The back seat of his SUV was overloaded with paper grocery bags. Some were loaded with meat and vegetables, some stacked entirely full of canned goods. But it was the box full of hand sanitizer that really made me take notice. Gary was the polar opposite of a germaphobe. Like, polar opposite. He routinely ignored the 5-second rule when it came to barbecue items dropped into lawn grass, and was very much of the opinion that letting kids play outside, letting them eat a little dirt from time to time, was just good for their immune system.
What?
It'd make them tough in a way that playing with screens just wouldn't. We actually used to laugh at people who kept those little Purell bottles in hip holsters, overly paranoid losers who would drive their cars off a bridge if they really knew how many microorganisms lived in their eyelashes alone.
What are you talking about?
But here Gary was, unloading an entire pallet of hand sanitizer from his truck. Got some to spare, huh, buddy? I shouted over from my porch. Not at the prices I just paid, he replied. Seems innocuous, I know, but if you knew Gary, you'd be just as interested to note that this reply didn't come with a smile or a chuckle. He barely even looked at me as he took the supplies inside. But things only really took a turn for the worse when one of Gary's kids took a tumble while playing in the street outside their house. They were playing on the new bike, riding around in circles when I guess they just lost their balance and fell hard onto the concrete. You could tell it was a bad fall from the way they let out this pained, shocked cry before bursting into tears. My wife was out on the porch at the time, sipping an iced tea, and saw the whole thing.
She looks like Cardi B. What the hell? Oh my God. I'm not even going to say nothing. Alright, let's just stop.
I had heard the scream, but wasn't sure what happened until I saw my wife grabbing the first aid kit we keep in a kitchen cabinet. I followed her outside into the street, but as she approached Gary's kid, the man himself was stood in his front doorway. In the sternest voice I'd ever heard out of the man, he told my wife to get away from his kid.
Damn.
I guess she understand what he meant. As she stopped just short of the crying child, took a few steps back, and then slid the first aid kit across the concrete in her direction. Gary's other kid was old enough to know what that first aid kit was, but as he tried to pick it up off the ground, Gary erupted at him to not touch that frickin' thing and to get back inside the house. My wife apologized for her hastiness, but assured Gary she had the best of intentions. And for the first time in 4 or 5 years since we'd moved into the neighborhood, I actually found myself getting angry with him. Damn. He didn't even acknowledge my wife's apology, giving us both a contemptuous look as he closed and locked the front door behind him. A few days later, we saw the same kid who fell wearing a makeshift sling and looked pretty miserable. It took us a while to put 2 and 2 together, but we did, and we realized that Gary hadn't, nor had any intention of taking his kid to the hospital to get their arm looked at by a doctor. It was only then did it really hit me just how bad this whole pandemic thing was affecting him. He wasn't just taking precautions, as the rest of us were. He seemed to be going full-on survivalist, like the guy's entire personality had shifted over what was apparently just the course of a week or so. It was disconcerting, to say the least. Then, just a few nights ago, my wife shook me awake to tell me she could smell...
You sleep with your clothes on? Your clothes on? Like, what? Wait. Obviously, there's some people that sleep with clothes on. I do myself. But not with full jacket on. Your shoes are still on. What? What's this? I don't even sleep with socks on because when you sleep with socks on, it's like it interferes with the sleep. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like something's grabbing your leg whilst you're sleeping. They're sleeping with no blanket over them, bro. In this cold weather.
Smell something burning. I literally fell out of bed thinking she was telling me our
What?
house was on fire, but she assured me it
goodness.
wasn't, and that she could just smell something. As my senses came to life, I began to be able to smell it too. This acrid, smoky smell that was obviously something being burned.
Your house is about to get
It
burned
only
down.
took me one look out of our bedroom window to tell me where it was coming from.
Is it Gary?
An orange glow emanating from across the street. There was a fire in Gary's backyard.
No way he burned the child.
The
bro.
smell wasn't just bothering us either. Almost every bedroom light of every house in the block was switched on, and I could see some similarly irritated neighbors floating by their windows, trying to find out where the stench was coming from. I decided to just suck it up, go over, and ask him to put the fire out.
No
God
way.
knows what he was burning, but I knew from the smell that it wasn't healthy. But no sooner had I crossed onto Gary's half of the street, he appears from his backyard gate. At least I figured it was Gary. I couldn't
Damn.
see his face. It was covered up with one of those old Gulf War era gas masks,
This guy's
the
a
kind with the
shotty.
big round glass eyes that made him look more simian than human. That, along with the 12-gauge shotgun that he had firmly in his grip, sent
Why
a
are
shiver
you
of fear running through
holding
me.
a shotgun, bro?
Get away from my house, Martin. His words were muffled by the mask, but it was clear what he said. Gary, buddy, that fire is... Get away from my house, Martin.
Damn, this guy switched
He
up
never
real
called
quick.
me Martin, always Marty. It was the first time I'd ever heard him call me by my actual name.
School shooter looking
I just
ass.
did the smart thing. I backed off, hands raised, slow enough to keep him from freaking out and shooting me dead right there in the street. I haven't talked to or seen Gary for the past few days, and I'm more than willing to give him the space he and his family need.
He's burning
That's
the
what it
child,
takes
bro.
for him to stay sane. But please, if any of your neighbors are suffering right now, please reach out to see if they're okay, if they need anything at all, even if it is just for you to keep your distance. I'm sure Gary will be fine in time when all of this stuff has calmed down. I hope he returns to be the man I once knew and loved. Have y'all been following all these Zoom and Skype dates that have been happening since the lockdown started? As you imagine, the use of dating apps have skyrocketed since the government had ordered us all inside for the foreseeable future. Those who would usually flaunt their game in the club or at the gym are now forced to use the same tactics as the less socially adept of us in dating apps. And although I'm not entirely happy with the increased competition, I'd be lying if I said my match count hasn't bumped up a little. Silver linings, right? Anyway, instead of using Tinder or Hinge, with their increased emphasis on physical appearances, definitely not my strong point given I'm about 30 pounds overweight right now, I opted for Reddit's R4R forum, which
Reddit? Wait, did I hear that
pounds
right?
overweight right now. I opted for Reddit's...
Oh my god.
What's Reddit? Are you talking about Reddit as in like the actual Reddit, or is there like another app that's called Reddit for dating? Because if you're using Reddit for dating, what the heck are you doing, bro? What?
R4R forum, which is full of posts from those who want to hook up for conversation, flirting, and occasionally even more. So, I put up this
What?
pretty dumb post, basically asking if there were any girls that wanted to
for
have like a
talking?
lockdown date or whatever. I listed a bunch of my interests, mainly horror movies and a few political issues close to my heart, and implored anyone who identified with them to get in touch. One or two girls did, and
Bruh,
I feel
man.
mean admitting this, but they just didn't seem particularly engaging. Nice, yes, charming, one really was, but our talks didn't light a fire in me. Not like the message I got in the wee small hours of the morning when I
Bruh.
was up way past my usual bedtime. The message from a girl named Amber who wrote eloquently and charmingly about how she too was looking for something of a lockdown bae herself. She was highly politically involved, as she put it, which definitely sparked my interest, in sharp comparison with the two other girls who wrote back to me who
Look at
didn't
this
seem
guy.
interested in politics.
Look at this guy. Freaking look. That's the thing about dating, fam. That's the thing about online dating and stuff like that. You just swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, and you just get too picky, bro. Real life things are better. Real life things are better. Talk to people in real life. Interact in real life. Social media messed up everything.
She was also extremely intelligent. The way she was able to articulate her thoughts was something I had rarely encountered in online interactions, which is also why I was so shocked when I found out she was only 18, 11 years my junior. Only
Don't go for it, bro. You're like a man. You're a fully grown man that needs kids.
when she described herself, I started to get suspicious. She seemed perfect. Too perfect.
18?
She told me she was 5'7",
That's not
Asian American,
18.
fit, and toned from yoga and spin class. In her own words, she was pretty cute. Catfish was the first thought that came to my mind. There was absolutely no way a girl as cute sounding as that would be getting in contact with me, so I just made a joke about it. Well, a joke that wasn't really a joke. I basically called
Look
her
at
out
this-
on it.
Look at this
How
guy.
she didn't have to pretend to be some hot Asian girl just to get my attention, not with the kind of conversational skills that she did. The next message was just a link to an Imgur photo. A risky click, if ever there was one, as there was absolutely nothing in the way of a caption to clue me into what the picture was of. But I suppose curiosity just got the better of me, and I just clicked. For those that don't already know,
Bruh.
a verification photo is when a person handwrites their username or other pertinent information on a piece of paper to prove that they are indeed who they say they are.
That,
And yep,
oh my
You guessed
gosh.
it. The picture was verification. As it turned out, Amber was exactly who she claimed to be.
Okay.
Young,
Okay.
Asian, and impossibly gorgeous.
She does not
I
look
mean,
18.
I was literally stunned when I saw that picture of her. I just stopped and
Ugh.
stared for what seemed like minutes. When it came to returning the favor, I was terrified. I am not in the least bit confident about my
Look
appearance,
how-
as I've made
Look how stiff he is, bro. This guy is...
Is this photo good enough? Is this good enough?
Just take a freaking picture, man. Just click with your name there, bro. Oh, man. Alright.
clear, and the idea of trying to take a selfie, something I'd never even done before that evening, was almost too much to bear. But I did it anyway. I
Yes.
combed my hair, washed my
Wow.
face, then went over my beard with the barely used trimmer my mom bought me for my 28th birthday. Basically her way of telling me to get that stuff off my face. Then, when I was done, I found my angle, took the photo, and then sent it over. The suspense, the raw suspense, oh my god. I honestly think the last time I was that nervous was before my first date I ever went
Why?
on as a 17-year-old in
Why
high
are
school.
you tripping?
I'm talking that heart-racing, sweaty palm, time-slowing down nervous that makes you feel sick to your stomach. I was convinced I'd never hear from her again,
No
that
way
she'd
she's
see how
laughing, bro.
mismatched this whole thing was and just up and ghost me. Only she didn't. She actually replied saying that I was cute. That was 3 weeks ago now. We've talked every single day since then.
Bro, she's
Sometimes
18.
having multiple hour-long phone calls that run into the wee small hours of the morning. And the more we talked, the more serious things became. At one point, Amber asked where she saw this going after lockdown was over. She told me she was living in Portland, whereas I was all the way over in the greater Boston area, pretty much opposite ends of the country to one another. But she pretty much straight up raised the issue of us needing to act on the chemistry we had. I told her that money was no object, that she was legit the most beautiful, charming young woman I'd ever met in my entire life. It was true. I meant every word of it, but I understood when she told me that she heard that kind of thing all the time. That they'd tell her just about anything to get the chance to sleep with her. And I believe that too.
18.
She asked me how far I'd be willing to go to prove myself to her.
What? See, that's a no-no. When someone says that to you, just delete them, man. You want me to prove. You want me to prove to you. Like, how are you telling me to prove to you? Who are you? I don't understand. How does that make any sense? You want someone to prove to you that they're worthy for you. Who are you? Huh? Bro, why is this grown-ass man that looks like... I don't know what the heck he looks like, bro, but you're talking to an 18-year-old and you're trying to prove yourself to her. You're a weirdo, man. Get the heck out of here, man. This guy's probably like 38 years old or some shit. Prove yourself. Alright, let's play.
I told her as far as she needed me to go. At that, she just laughed, telling me how she doubted it. I was indignant. I'd do anything.
What?
Everything she asked just to make her believe it. That's when she told me to get a knife.
Bro, what are you talking
knew
about,
it.
man?
She's
I'm
a
ashamed
crazy...
to say that there was barely any hesitation. I just trusted her.
Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
You trusted someone that you're talking to through the phone. No hesitation, you pick up a knife. What an idiot. See, I thought, let me quickly say something. The first movie, the first little one, that was alright with Gary. I think that's his name, the crazy guy that probably burned that child. That was alright. But this one, this guy's pissing me off. What an idiot. Let's see what's going on, man. What a freaking idiot. Are you that desperate, bro? Oh my gosh, you're that desperate. I knew she was crazy. Look at her. Freaking rat. I knew she was crazy, bro. It's obvious. Let's play, man. Let's play. It's getting interesting. I won't lie.
Just to make her believe it. That's when she told me to get a knife. I'm ashamed to say that there was barely any hesitation. I just trusted her. I trusted that she knew what was best for me.
What?
She already seemed to be able to read me like a book. She asked if I had an envelope handy. I told her yes, that I had a pack of about 100 crisp white envelopes. She told me to open it. I obeyed. She told me to place the blade of...
You obeyed. Oh my gosh, you can't be... The wordplay in this is ridiculously annoying. Not the person that created this. I like this. I like what I'm watching right now, but obviously the person that is narrating is this guy. He obeyed. What a rat. You're a freaking rat. You obeyed. You got nothing. You're a 38-year-old man, bro. Obeying a 18-year-old. Yeah, man. What is... Oh my gosh. And he's about to slit his wrist. Look. He's about to cut his hand because she said so.
She told me to open it. I obeyed. She told me to place the blade of the knife onto my palm. I obeyed. And when she finally gave me the order, I pulled the blade across my flesh and let fresh blood flow onto the open envelope. It didn't even hurt. It was the strangest thing, but for the first few minutes there was no pain at all. Just this dull, hot feeling as I watched the blood flow from the open wound, staining the perfect white of the paper a deep crimson. I held everything up to the webcam, showing her exactly how far I was willing to go for her. And oh my God, the look on her face, the way her pretty almond eyes seemed to light up.
Wow.
It just filled me with joy.
Are you crazy?
I don't really know why I'm telling you this. I know it's making me sound crazy just as much as it's making her sound toxic. But in that moment, it all just made so much sense.
That's just crazy.
Words are cheap. Actions count for something. And there's no dearer currency than our own lifeblood. It seemed like the purest act of devotion imaginable, and for a while, I saw nothing wrong with it, and had zero regrets. When it was done, she told me to buy a larger plastic envelope, one that'll properly conceal the blood-filled paper one. Then I was to mail it to her. Again, it made a lot of sense. It was possible to fake something like that, pretty easily. So the idea that she wanted to see for herself, to verify that I'd be true to her,
oh my
it was just second nature.
You can't be seriously that desperate for us, bro? Oh my gosh. This guy has you have no common sense. And I know there's people out there like that. I know for a fact there's people out there like this 38-year-old man. What do you mean it all makes sense that she would like to verify it's real blood, so she wants you to say that? Are you deluded? Are you deluded? This guy is delusional, bro. Ah, man, this is so... It's creepy annoying. It's creepy annoying because you know what she could do. She's probably a voodoo master trying to curse your blood or something. I don't freaking know, bro. She's a psychopath as well, and he's a crazy psychopath that doesn't know what's going on. Look how happy he is. Idiotic man. Anyways, let's... Oh my gosh, I can't believe my eyes. Alright, I have a lot to say, but let's keep that to a minimum. Let's carry on watching.
As instructed, I paid extra for next day delivery.
Oh
a
my
lot extra,
gosh.
but it would be worth it.
This
I felt
nigga
like every
paid
penny I spent on this girl was
extra,
worth
bro.
it. Money can't buy something like we shared, at least. That's the way it felt at the time.
What are you... Oh my...
I remember being so excited at the prospect of her opening that envelope, of seeing her satisfaction at knowing what I'd done for her. And when she showed me her opening that thing over webcam, it was every bit as disgustingly glorious as I imagined.
Please don't.
Her
Don't.
eyes lit up in that same adorable way, and she smiled in a way I'd never quite seen before. Such a wide, white smile. She giggled as she held it up, bringing a hand to her mouth, and in one fluid motion, she brought the blood-stained envelope to her
Oh
lips.
no! Oh, I thought she was gonna drink
She
it.
didn't just kiss it. I watched transfixed
Oh my
as she
God.
began to lick at the dried bloodstains, spitting on them and lathering them with her tongue until the dried mess hydrated and formed a sticky crimson residue. Now, writing this now, it's really obviously disgusting, but at the time, it seemed like love. It was the purest act of acceptance of another living being I'd ever witnessed.
This guy's done out here.
She was purporting to adore the very blood that ran through my veins, that even in a dried-up, crusty state, she could invigorate it. It said so much with so little. The next day, we got into a conversation about cats. Amber loved kitties, as she put it. She had a bunch of clothes with cat designs on them, hair accessories that resembled cat girls.
Done out
It
here.
was a whole theme for her. But since she was in college, living in a dorm room that she was basically trapped in due to lockdown, there was no way of her getting to own one. Now, for the first time being away, I confess that since my last girlfriend had broken up with me and moved out, I'd strongly been considering getting a pet to combat the crushing loneliness that came with a lifestyle such as mine. This revelation delighted her, and she asked if I would go get her one.
Why?
I was
man?
confused at first, thinking we meant she wanted me to, send her a cat. I didn't think this was entirely out of the question. I mean, animal shelters would still need to run despite the COVID thing. There had to be a way I could find an animal shelter in her area and arrange to have one dropped off. But obviously, that's not what she meant at all. She wanted me to get a cat. I acquiesced to the idea pretty quickly. It did suit my plans after all. But then the conversation took a weird turn. She asked me if I loved kitties, so I told her yes. The truth is, I don't like them as much as dogs, but I wasn't about to overcomplicate the situation by saying that. Then she asked me which I liked more, her or cats. Again, I said her. Then she asked if I loved enough to hurt something innocent.
Oh my
I hesitated, but
gosh.
again I said yes.
Oh my
Then came
gosh.
those fatal words that now don't seem so loving anymore.
Of-
Prove it. She told me, in no uncertain terms, that she wanted me to prove that I loved her more than any other living creature.
She's a psycho.
She didn't want me to get into any trouble, to ruin my career by getting a criminal record or anything, but she still wanted proof. It was horrifying, listening to her talk. She had obviously thought this out, maybe even long in advance. She told me I could get a really old cat from a rescue center, one that was near the end of its life anyway, one that might well be suffering from joint pain or breathing trouble. She told me to look at it like an act of mercy, one that would prove I was the right man for her. One that could make difficult decisions and own them too.
How are you 18 years
And
old?
I'm ashamed to admit, I agreed to every word.
You fucking rat.
I found that local animal shelters in my area were still indeed operating. I called one to ask them a few questions regarding the adoption process and found it would be infinitely easier than I even expected. I could pay them a visit and leave with the cat the very same day. Then it came to asking my own rather tailored set of questions. I told her I wanted to give an older kitty a comfortable time in its twilight years, that I was something of a feline philanthropist and had been doing so for many years. It was heart-wrenching, hearing that rescue center worker telling me what a good person I was, how no one wanted to adopt the older cats, and how one would be so happy to have finally found someone to take care of them. I think that's what did it. The sobering moment that made me realize how stupid I'd been these past few weeks.
You are stupid.
How lust and desire and loneliness had driven me to the point where I was willing to relinquish my entire humanity. I had never hurt so much as a fly in my entire life, and there I was, planning to hurt an innocent, essentially defenseless animal. I knew I had to do something. I opted for a clean break. I thought about writing her a long goodbye message, explaining how I'd come to that decision,
She's gonna come
hoping
after you,
it
bro.
wouldn't hurt her feelings too much.
She's
but
gonna come after
then,
you,
it occurred to me that she didn't really have feelings,
bro.
not like you or I might do. She had a fixation on what she could do. It all made sense in that
Oh,
context.
shit. That
She got
scared the
off
crap
on
out of me.
power,
I'm not even gonna
on
lie.
manipulation,
What
and
the
any way she could
frick is
achieve that
this?
was justified. I blocked her on Discord, deleted the email account I'd used to send her
On
long
Discord.
stream of consciousness letters from. It hurt. It hurt really bad at first, but once I told myself she'd easily find a new partner, a new victim, the decisions became much easier to deal with. So please, people, learn from my stupid, short-sighted mistakes.
What is
Don't let this lockdown loneliness get the better of you, because there are people out there, bad people, just waiting to exploit it.
What is... She's gonna come after you, bro. She's gonna come after you, bro. She's gonna come after you, bro. 100%. She's coming after him. She's coming after him. 100%. He's dead the next day. 100%. If this is actually like a real... Because obviously the title again is 3 True Quarantine Horror Stories. Let me look at the comments real quick. The guy in the second story is the ultimate definition of a simp. But that's what I'm trying to say, man. Freaking, like, this is ridiculous. As I said, I don't actually know if this is real or not. I don't know what I can really say about this. If this is real, then that's crazy, bro. Don't do that, guys. Please don't do that. Don't be that desperate for anything when it comes to someone else like that, man. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. This was more interesting. The second one was more interesting because it was weird. But I want to have more like proper horror stuff. So hopefully in the next episode, you know, when I watch some short movies, they'll be actually scary, you know what I mean? I like horror stuff. I like horror games. So I might as well watch horror things as well. Horror movies or horror stuff that I can watch for free. Hope you guys enjoyed this, you know what I mean? That guy's a freaking weirdo, bro. Can't believe my eyes, man. Be careful on dating app, guys. There's no point in going on dating apps now anyway. It's freaking quarantine. Anyways, see you guys. When I see you guys.